And I'm not very interested, honestly, with all due respect to the 60% of Americans who believe that Barack Obama is a socialist who call themselves Republicans, or 40% of Republicans today who believe that Barack Obama wasn't born in America. I'm not interested in having a conversation with those ideologues. I'm interested in talking about the issues that are important to the vast middle. Those people who aren't called to ask their opinions in polls, those people who frankly don't show up at a rally and shout names.
Let's jump off of that point, and both of you can jump in on this. We'll start with Chris. The election of Scott Brown in Massachusetts. Some of that's related to this, though he's viewed as more of a moderate for a lot of the hardcore conservative base. So how do you think
it's interesting?
What does that election say, and will it have any effect or play out here in Ohio?
Certainly from afar one could think that there's trends, not just in Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Virginia, but if one were to pay a little more attention to the Scott Brown race. You know, Scott Brown helped author Massachusetts healthcare initiative that actually is more liberal than the health care initiative being pushed by Barack Obama and other allies in the Congress and the Senate. Scott Brown was always viewed, when he was in the state Senate in Massachusetts, as a moderate. But of course, special elections, anything can happen, and they did. Over the course of a 6-week campaign, the Democratic nominee took a week vacation. Over the course of a 6-week campaign, Barack Obama only came to the state once. And a little gentle criticism for the White House political office, when asked the day after the election what they did, they responded, "We did everything we were asked." Well, when you're running the political shop or the DNC or the RNC, you can't just sit back and wait until you're asked. You have to be engaged every day.
So how does it play out here in Ohio quickly? Do you think it has any carryover?
Absolutely, there's some carryover. There's a great deal of impatience. People want change. Change for the better, change for the worse. No offense.
Sorry, well,
no offense.
Kevin, Kevin, you pick it up here. Let's talk about it.
I think it does.
Scott Brown.
I think it does. It does. There is a carryover to Ohio, and it goes to what Chris just said. The DNC and the White House sat and said, "We're going to wait. You know, we did everything we were asked to do." The RNC and the grassroots of our party, Chairman Frost was in Massachusetts. We had thousands of phone calls from Ohio into Massachusetts. It is the same that it happened in 49 other states around the country, and it's an example of what is happening with the electorate. Republicans are energized, they're excited, they're frustrated, they're activated. Democrats generally, when you're looking at the polls, this isn't just me saying this. It's based on polling data. There's less intensity on the Democratic side. You saw that in Virginia. You saw it in New Jersey. You see it in Massachusetts. It's going to play out and have an impact on the elections here in Ohio in 2010.
Today in Ohio, there are 986,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans.
But the feeling is they're not going to come out this November because there's no presidential. Do you think?
Kevin and I are going to spend the next several months speaking to the independents and those in the middle on both sides of the aisle who are interested in having that conversation. I cannot communicate to the so-called Tea Party members who are going to shout down people in rooms. I have to focus on the independents, like-minded Republicans, Democrats, and encourage them through what we believe to be the strongest state party in the nation, the largest in terms of employees, the largest in terms of fundraising in the nation, and the infrastructure already in place, so that we'll be successful this November as we have been in the 2006 and 2008 cycles.
I think just to carry on that, for the benefit of the audience, what is our job? Our job is his job is not to only rally around and gain and garner the support of the Democrats. Because if he does that, then I win. And I can't do that. I can't do only Republican voters. We both have to appeal to that 60% of the electorate who really doesn't identify with either party. And so our job is go get our base and then go get 60% of the independent voter, and that's how you win elections. And so Chris is right. We're going to spend a lot of time encouraging our candidates to talk to people who right today maybe aren't sure where they sit ideologically or politically.
All right, let's shift gears a bit and start with you, Kevin. We have two Republicans, John Adams of Sydney and gubernatorial candidate John Kasich, offering or have talked about a plan to phase out the state income tax, which currently makes up about 45% of the revenue. do you support a plan like that right now, even though we don't know a lot of details on K6?
Yeah.
But you were in the legislature, so
Yeah,
you better know than anyone.
Yeah, I don't think John Adams' plan represents John Kasik's
No,
plan.
that's why I'm being careful to be. They're separate
John Adams
plans. We
has
don't know a lot of details on the one.
John Adams has a plan that he's talking about, and that's John Adams' plan. John Kasich has talked about the idea of in a responsible way, in a phased out fashion, eliminating or dramatically reducing the income tax in the state of Ohio. Yes, it is a significant provider of dollars for essential services that the state provides. John isn't saying eliminate it on day one. John's saying let's get our budget under control and then begin the process of phasing it out, because it is one of the two or three things in our state that makes it hard for us to compete, that makes it hard for us to keep entrepreneurs, wealthy individuals who are philanthropic and own businesses and the like. It's hard for us to keep folks here with the income tax rate that we have here. So John has talked about eliminating it, phasing it out over a 10-year period or longer in a reasonable and responsible fashion that doesn't jeopardize critical state
One
service.
follow-up. I know you've probably heard the counter-argument is, though, but even in the short term, there's a big hit to education in particular, because you're not going to attract all this new business immediately. Sure. Do you think it's possible then to still carry out the plan and not see some radical changes in those first few years?
Yeah, do I think it's possible? Sure. I think anything's possible. I think you need to be able to get in there and put together a budget that restructures state government and reduces the cost of service. I think you can do that. But let's be honest about what's in the school funding proposal today. Governor Strickland's school funding proposal, the guy who promised to fix school funding. It's the first time we've cut state aid to schools since 1992, and there's almost $1 billion worth of one-time stimulus money in the school funding formula today that will have to be made up somewhere in the next budget.
And your parties could have a candidate inheriting that in 10 months, so this tax plan becomes all the more important. But let's move on, Chris.
Well,
it's a little response. I know this is a big softball in front of you right now.
Well,
so
details are the damnedest things, aren't they? Because if you pay attention to them, your plan is damned. The facts are, again, lay the facts out on the table. 37 House Republicans are supporting Representative Adams' plan to eliminate the income tax, including Josh Mandel, who's running statewide on John Kasich's ticket. Now we're going to walk back from that idea because we're starting to pay attention to the fact that 45% of the state's revenue help pay for things like fire departments, police departments, and in-classroom instruction. Oh, by the way, we care about libraries. Oh, by the way, we care about the 35 state institutions that happen to educate kids like Kevin and myself a few years back at least. John Adams is a member of the leadership in the House caucus, and now the gubernatorial nominee of his party is walking back from that very proposal, of which 37 House members have already endorsed. Now, who's not in favor of reducing taxes? I'll co-sponsor the plan. We'll eliminate the income tax, 0.5% over the next 50 years. Yeah. I mean, the facts are clear. Every couple of years, somebody runs statewide and says, we're going to do away with the income tax. His name was Ken Blackwell. Ohioans responded.
It was in fairness to Ken, that was a very different plan.
Okay, how so? How so?
He was talking flat tax.
And quite frankly, it was the tax expenditure limitation amendment, which would have eliminated the income tax and created a flat tax at a much lower rate, thus punishing consumers. Because if you live in Florida, if I may, if you live in Florida and you don't have an income tax, if you live in Texas or in Delaware, what you've seen and what has been reported widely is that your property tax and sales tax and other user taxes go up dramatically to help make up the difference. And please, introduce me to the business leader in this community who is going to tell all of us together today that he or she is leaving this state based solely on the income tax at the state level.
Let me jump in, Chris.
It's factually void.
This is a good point and a good argument here that's going on, because I think this is what we're going to see. I think, which is good, this is substantive. We're going to see this as the basis of that argument. I trip over that word every time.